Welcome to day 5 of the 7-day money transformation. So, right now, just allow yourself to have more money in your experience. What if it was as easy as that? Right now, I'm allowing myself to have more money in my experience. And as you choose to allow that, certain things may arise. Thoughts, feelings, beliefs, whatever. So notice if you are those thoughts or those feelings or those beliefs, or if you are the space that those thoughts and feelings and beliefs arise in. Before you are the person you have decided you are awareness. And so we could think about this like just being blank space that you then create all of these different things upon. Before there is physical reality, there is awareness. Before there are any of your physical senses, there is awareness. You are aware that you have those physical senses. If you weren't aware, you wouldn't notice, you wouldn't see, you wouldn't hear, you wouldn't smell, you wouldn't taste, you wouldn't anything. You wouldn't think, you wouldn't feel, you wouldn't believe. So before you are anything else, you are this space of awareness. And if you will actually remind yourself that before you are whatever you're thinking about being, whatever you feel that you are, whatever you believe that you are, before all of that, you are just this space of awareness, which doesn't need an identity, doesn't need thoughts, doesn't need feelings, doesn't need beliefs. You create thoughts and you create feelings and you create beliefs so you can have an experience. But prior to that, you are this space of awareness that isn't defined by any of that. And so as you are allowing yourself to have more money in your experience, or to have whatever you think more money would allow you to experience, just notice that you are that space of awareness. That you don't have to hold on so tightly to anything you think. That you don't have to hold on so tightly to anything you feel. That you don't have to hold on so tightly to anything you believe. A lot of us, if we'll really look at it, have a pretty rigid belief about how much money is going to show up in our experience per day. But what really creates that? What truly dictates how much money you are going to experience per day? And what even is the experience of money for you? What is your experience of money now? What was your experience of money in the past? Really, most of what we're talking about when we talk about anything are ideas from the past that we assume are going to remain in the present and still be there in the future. But we don't actually, nearly as often as we could, check the present moment to see if what we thought and felt and believed to be true in the past is even really still here, is even really occurring right now. And if we would really be present for a moment and realize that most of the things that we thought and felt and believed to be true in the past are not here right now. And depending on how honest we're willing to be with ourselves, maybe they were never here in the first place, aside from us creating them so we can think them and feel them and believe them. Maybe it really wasn't the way I thought it was. Maybe those feelings were very convincing, but maybe they were just feelings. And even if you believe things were the way things were, the way you thought they were and felt they were, even if you really believe that in the past was the way it was, that does not mean that right this very moment, that past is continuing into the present moment, or that it will continue into the future. If in the past you didn't have the amount of money that you'd truly like to have, that doesn't mean that you don't have it right now. And that doesn't mean that you won't have it in the future. And if you will look at everything you've experienced and remind yourself, with every experience, I was always the space of awareness that experience was, let's say, projected onto. Understand that while I'm talking about this, the words that I'm using to describe the way we create are just pointing to something. They may not be 100% accurate to what actually is. It's more to inspire you to look and engage than it is to tell you the way things definitely are. But imagine it as if you are this space of awareness onto which your experience is projected by you. So this whole physical world arises from your space of awareness. And so at the same time you are having this experience and identifying with this experience and thinking and feeling and believing that you are what you are based on what you're experiencing, you are at the same time, beneath all of that, around all of that, infinitely stretching out in all directions beyond whatever your experience is you as the space of awareness that you really are, as the infinite, as the all, as the ever-present, and as this formless, identityless being that simply is. And what if being was enough? What if your awareness of being, as Neville Goddard and probably others have called it, what if your awareness of being was enough? And what if you really knew that everything that arises from your awareness of being? You are the source of everything. And it's simply a matter of you allowing more money in your experience. And the more you will remember that you are this unbounded, unlimited space, the more space there is for money in your experience or anything else you like to have. You will notice that when you are having what appears to be an undesirable experience, you feel very small and very constricted and very stuck and very fixed. And you feel that as a sensation somewhere in your body. For me, it's always when I'm not present with what I truly am, my head feels like it's 1,000 pounds. And everything feels small and stuck and tight right inside my head. And whatever that is for you, are you really that feeling? Are you really the one feeling it? Or are you the awareness from which that feeling arises, that feeling is created? Can you be aware of the space around that feeling? Whatever you think, can you be aware of the space around that thought? When you think there's not enough money, can you be aware of the space around that thought? And this is a very strange suggestion, but when you are thinking that there is not enough money, can you be aware of all the money that is around that thought? That thought doesn't contain very much money. You're saying there's not very much money. So that thought doesn't contain very much money, doesn't contain very much of you, doesn't contain very much of your essence. But can you notice that around that thought is an infinite amount of money going out in all directions? Is an infinite amount of energy going out in all directions? Is an infinite amount of you going out in all directions? See, most of us, if we'll really admit it, want more money because we have the idea that more money will allow us to experience more of what we desire to experience. And now, just be with that thought, that more money will allow you to experience more of what you desire to experience. And see how much space is in the thought. Money will allow me to experience more of what I'd like to experience. And then see how much more space is around the thought. Money will allow me to experience more of what I'd like to experience. The truth is, the only thing that will allow you to experience more of what you'd like to experience is you. And money might seem like a very useful facilitator for you experiencing whatever you'd like to experience, but it's just a facilitator of what you'd like to experience. It is not what actually allows you to experience what you'd like to experience, because you can have more money and still not experience what you'd like to experience. You can have less money and still somehow, some way, end up experiencing what you truly like to experience. So, is there any truth to the idea that money allows you to experience what you truly like to experience? Or is that a thought that has been created in this space of awareness that you latch onto, and then you say, this is what I believe? Look at this whole character that you play day to day in your life. Look at the way you identify yourself. Look at what you believe yourself to be, what your personality is, how you relate to other people, who you think you are, what you think about yourself. Are you aware that around all of that is more space than is contained within that? Within this definition of yourself, this idea of who you are, there's a certain amount of space. But there's infinitely more space out in all directions beyond what you're trying to define yourself as. And many people use money as a key thing they identify with. They identify themselves based on the amount of money they have. I'm lower class, I'm middle class, I'm upper class, I'm poor, I'm rich, I'm broke, I am blah, blah, blah. And none of that is really who you are. It's simply a creation. This all might seem really obvious, especially that we've been doing this now for 5 days. But I'm reiterating it with this idea of the space of awareness that is available to you, so that you will start to look at how you're actually holding these things in existence. You are existence, and you are holding on to certain ideas to have a specific experience. That if you didn't hold on to those ideas, that experience would change. So let yourself perceive in this moment whatever you think you've been experiencing up until now, whatever you have looked at your experience and judged it to be. Let yourself be aware of that, whatever it is. I've been experiencing being broke. I've been experiencing being okay. I've been experiencing making ends meet. I've been experiencing being rich. Whatever you think your experience has been with regards to money or anything else. Let your awareness of what you've decided that experience is, what you've judged it to be here. And then notice how much more space there is beyond that experience that is still you. Beyond this experience that you're currently having, there is so much more of you than you might have allowed yourself to really be with. And there's a lot contained in that space. Untapped energy. Even just think about how much you identify with your body, and you decide that your body is the sum total of what you are. You have this body, and then for some reason there are thoughts attached to this body. Many people call it the body-mind. But are you really that, or are you the space that's aware of that? And is your body even really what you've perceived it to be, what you've created it as? Or is it this infinite space that may not necessarily be exactly what you've thought it was? Now, there's a trick of language when we talk about this, because when you want to have the experience that you've been having, you'll create your body a certain way, and that will seem to be the honest truth. So it's not to invalidate what you've been creating. It's not to say there's nothing to what you've been creating. What you've been creating is amazing. And the more space you're willing to remember that you are, the more you can see this momentary creation as kind of amazing. It's kind of amazing that you are infinite space and you can make yourself believe that you're about this big. That's pretty amazing. And the more you allow yourself to truly remember what it is you actually are, and how you are shaping and molding and influencing and expressing your experience, money will be so easy to adjust to your creative needs. You'll notice I didn't say your survival needs, your creative needs. What am I interested in creating? What am I interested in experiencing? What, if this infinite space would truly, if anything could arise in this infinite space, what would I have right now? If anything could be created in this space that I have, that I am, that I'm aware of. If anything could be created here now, what? And that doesn't have to be such a physical, tangible, obvious picture. It might be, but it doesn't have to be. It may be something that doesn't really stick in your mind, but you get some kind of extrasensory perception of it. And be aware that you can create even things you can't think of, even things you can't feel, even things you can't believe, you can create. Nothing is impossible for you. And the less you hold fast to this identity of someone who cannot create something, someone for whom there are things that are impossible, the less you hold tightly to that, and the more you relax into this space of awareness from which everything arises, that you are the source of everything you experience, the more you relax into that, the more you can create things that this current conception of yourself doesn't have any frame of reference for, doesn't have any belief in, doesn't have any real thoughts about. Allow yourself to really, really, really know that if you want to keep playing this character, if you want to keep conceiving of yourself in this way, you can. You can drop it, you can pick it back up, you can stretch it out, you can make it smaller, you can make it bigger, you can make this idea of who you think you are into whatever you want. That's the amazing thing. We could at any moment change this idea that we have about ourselves into anything else. And many people persist with an idea of themselves that they don't really like, that they're not really thrilled about, that they have judgment of, that they feel negatively about. And to whatever degree you have things about yourself that you think negatively about, really ask yourself, am I those negative thoughts? Am I the one thinking negative thoughts? Or am I the space of awareness that is creating negative thoughts, is negative thoughts are arising in? And they could arise and they could just leave. But I'm holding on to them and going, this is me. This is who I am. This means something about me. This is what I'm stuck with. I can't get rid of this. I can't get out of this. And because you are such a creative force, when you create this momentary negative idea, and then you hold on to that and you go, this is who I am, you're going to create so many things that will reflect to you that that is who you think you are. But are you really that? Or are you the space and the awareness? It's a different way of being present with yourself and the way you create this idea of yourself in the world. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having an identity, believing you're a certain way, thinking you're a certain way, feeling it. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But allow yourself to remember at every moment, you can truly choose to create yourself in any way you desire. And the more you remember that, the more you will create yourself in any way you desire. And when you catch yourself creating yourself in a way you don't desire, you can take a second, take a moment, to remind yourself, wait a second, this isn't actually me. This thing I'm creating myself as isn't actually me. This identity, this person, this character isn't actually me. I'm the space of awareness that all of this arises in. All of this is contained. I'm the source of all of this. So I can make it into whatever I want. So if you have had a story or an experience that you haven't had enough money or the amount of money you'd like to have, or you've had a negative experience with money, if that's what you've been creating, give yourself this moment to stop and see, am I really the person who had those difficulties with money? Or am I the space of awareness that created the idea that I am a person, and created the idea that there is money, and created the idea that there's any difficulty with money, and created the idea that there's a right amount to have and a wrong amount to have? And is any of that actually me? Is any of that what I actually am? Is any of that actually the reality of me? And is any of it what I really want to choose? If I could, in this moment, be the total space of awareness that I am, with no boundaries, with no limits, with no negative judgments of myself whatsoever, because there's truly nothing to judge in the first place. I'm this space and this energy that everything arises from. There's nothing to judge there. The judgment comes way after the fact. Even the judgment is just something that arises out of this space and this energy and this awareness. But if I really remember, hold on, I'm not any of this stuff that I think and feel and believe I am. No matter how convincing it is, I'm not really any of that. If I was infinite and unlimited, and I was just a space of awareness without the need for this, just for this moment, to believe that about myself, to think that, and the thoughts and the feelings and the beliefs might still be happening. But at the same time, you are still that space of awareness. And if you'll shift your focus from the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, it's not that you need to ignore them, you need to avoid them, you need to get rid of them. You don't have to do anything. You have to realize all of that stuff is happening right here. And you're everywhere around it. It feels really small because you are so much vast, you're infinite. You can't be contained in this one experience that you're having. And the more you remind yourself of your infinite nature, the easier it is to change anything into what you truly desire it to be. It's easy for you. It's natural for you. It's not hard work for you. Nothing is. Nothing is hard work for you. You can make it hard work for yourself. You can make yourself so small and so finite and so scared that you feel like it's really difficult for you. But it's not difficult for you. Let it be easy. What if money was the easiest thing in the world? What if money was totally so easy for you, you don't ever have to fight yourself on it ever again? When I ask that, there's an awareness of more And at the same time, the thought might arise, well, but sometimes I need to fight myself about money, so I'll make some so I won't. But really look, is that thought that's coming up really you? Are you really the one thinking that? Or have you created that? So it seems like you're the one thinking that, when really you're the awareness that that thought arises in. You don't have to claim it so much. You don't have to believe it is you, or it applies to you, or it is real, or it means anything. It could just be part of the experience that doesn't have any effect on you. Really look. Right now, think that money is incredibly difficult. And see how much space is in that thought. And now think it again. Money is really difficult. And see how much more space is around that thought. Look to see, money is really difficult. How much money is available in that thought? How much money is available in the thought, money is really difficult? None. And then allow yourself, rather than holding on to that and knowing that that's true and believing that that's true and feeling like it's so true, allow yourself to remember that you're the space around the thoughts, the space around the feelings, the space around the beliefs. And you see, there isn't any inherent truth to that. You don't have to do anything with that thought. You don't have to change how you feel about that thought, because you're not that thought. And you don't have to identify as the person who thinks that thought. You don't have to identify as the person who feels all the things that you seem to feel when you think that thought. You don't have to identify as the person who believes that to be true based on what you think and feel. You can choose to let that go, and you can choose to be the space around that. You are the space around that. You are the awareness that holds all things and can let all things go and can choose what exactly to create with. You can use anything as a vehicle of creation. A lot of different people talk about this, and they'll say your thoughts are what create your reality, or your feelings are what create your reality, or everything is just one creative vessel. Your thoughts are one creative vessel, one creative instrument. Your feelings are one creative instrument. Your beliefs are one creative instrument. None of them are superior to you as the creator and the source. Money is not superior to you as the creator and the source. It is an instrument of creation. You can create regardless of what instrument of creation you use. Let yourself really know that and remember that. And allow yourself to have as much money or anything else that you'd like to experience. If you knew you could experience anything you want, anything, without limits, would you really be sitting and thinking about money as much as you are? Or would you just be having the experiences you want to have? Regardless, if you had all the money in the world to do everything you want to do, would you ever think about money, or would you just go, I'm going to do what I want to do? I know that that sounds simplistic. I know that it almost sounds condescending. but just let yourself really see that that's possible. All right, everybody. That is all for today. See you tomorrow. Thanks so much.